Great.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I would like to call to order the July 26th meeting, 2021 meeting of the Master Plan Implementation Committee. I will start off with reading our statement. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting of the Master Plan Implementation Committee will be conducted via remote means. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so on their televisions by tuning to Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 26 or online at www.northandovercam.org. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of North Andover website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. If the public would like to participate in public meetings, please email your question, comment prior to or during the meeting to ashapiro@northandoverma.gov. That's ashapiro@northandoverma.gov. The question comment will be read during the proceedings and responded to accordingly. All right. Let me move my agenda so I can see faces again. All right, did we get Holly? No, not yet. All right, so tonight we've got a few topics here, right? We just need to approve our minutes.
Kelly,
Chris,
apologies for interrupting. Can I ask for two things before you get started with the agenda? Can you do a quick roll call? And before you even do that, can we get someone to take the minutes?
I will do that.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you,
Stan. Thank you.
All right, roll call. Sorry about that. I always forget that. George Kohler.
Here.
John Strauss.
Here.
Stan Limpert.
Here.
Chris Nobley.
Here.
Kelly Cormier. Here. We, as of right now, we do not have Holly Williams, Meredith, Jay Dowd,
Sean McDonough.
and Sean McDonough. Okay. All right. But we do have 5 people on, so we are at quorum. So what I'd like to cover today, everybody saw the agenda, is we've got our meetings. We'll see, Chris, if you have anything on the communication aspect of the MPAC to report back to the group. We talked about applying the master plan framework to the downtown improvement plan tonight. Another item was having each of the subcommittees come back and talk about kind of what are the prioritized elements on their list that they want to continue conversations on. And then we need to review and vote on the quarterly report. I would like, Chris, I know you've got to leave in a little bit, so I would like to kind of see, do you have anything on the communication aspect?
So
moving yet?
I would just quickly note, Kelly, that and to the rest of the committee, that our new chair, Laura Bates, is, obviously tuning into this, and she was very appreciative of obviously everything that the committee did at the town meeting in terms of the communication. I did take her through some of the things that we're working on, kind of the next level. She's very excited to see that. So I would say the more that we can connect and give feedback as we're talking about doing, she certainly feels that's more valuable to the committee. And I think now that we've got some momentum behind us, it's even more important that we keep that visibility going.
And say again, what's the suggestion on how we do that? Do more of that or better?
Well, I think it's making sure that this committee steps forward on basically what we're doing, which is anything that really connects to the plan. Whatever we see connects to the plan, we should be weighing in on providing a statement or representative to the select board so that they can get that direct feedback. Because again, over and over, they just very impressed, and the depth of knowledge was very helpful to the other select board members. So our engagement, I think, is really helpful because we're now really moving more into the implementation stage across the town, right? It's less about what do we want to do, and it's more how we're going to do it.
I see.
Right? The plans are basically in place. It's about fulfillment. So.
Okay. And so it seems that that's definitely in tune with what we talked about during our last meeting with applying the framework to the downtown improvement plan. The
Yep.
next one we talked about was the 495, not 495, well, the 114 corridor plan, getting
Right.
bigger and bigger here. And then I just had it on new business as an item to discuss to see what people thought. Is the planning board is taking a look at a proposed inclusionary zoning bylaw.
Right.
So didn't know if that could be one. Just wanted to bring that up if people thought that that would be a good one to put the framework against as well. So just put that out for consider. But it sounds like that if we keep going with the framework,
Yeah.
that does a lot. Okay. And then one of the things that was on my list that I didn't do is we had talked about having me connect with the town manager to see if we could kind of create a better process for getting our feedback into town committee into town meeting where appropriate. So that's still on my list to do, kind of just see what she thinks.
Yep.
All right. So if that's all that's there, do people want to dive into the framework with only the 5 of us? Do we think we can get it done?
Kelly, what about approving the minutes just to get
Yeah.
it out of the way?
All right, let's do that. I'm open. Let's go. Approve them. Everybody have a chance to look at them?
Yep. Motion to approve the minutes from the June 21st, 2020 meeting of the Master Plan Implementation Committee as presented.
I'll second it.
All right.
I'm sorry. There's one phrase in there that I think needs to be reworded. About in the middle of the page, it says Chris comments that the report and presentation help the BOS as the MPIC and as a mechanism. And I think there's a missing word or adverb or something like that. It's in bold, it says report out on presentation and framework as part of our quarterly report. And then there's a paragraph Kelly believes, and there's the next paragraph John comments. And then there's a paragraph Chris comments. I think that sentence just tell you the truth, I wasn't sure what was.
So should this speak? I think this was around the framework. So should it be Chris comments that the report and presentation helped the Board of Selectmen, period?
Yeah,
Select board.
And then
delete
select
those
board.
3 words.
Thank
So
you.
it says presentation helped the BOS and is a mechanism to confirm.
Maybe it just
And
needs to be.
And is a valuable mechanism.
Well, you want to add the word valuable. That's not in the draft, but.
Well, okay, so can someone just orient me to what sentence we're on, just so I can see where we are?
All right.
It's a paragraph. It's a 1-sentence paragraph that begins Chris comments. Actually, there's 2 paragraphs that begin Chris comments. This is the upper of the 2.
Okay, I see it.
The
Chris
first
comments
one.
that the report and presentation helped the BOS as the MPIC. Okay. So what changes being
Well,
suggested?
it's just as the MPIC.
All right, I have a suggestion. So just because, and Chris, I think if this doesn't meet true to what you meant, let me know. Chris comments that the report and presentation helped the Board of
The select board.
BOS,
period. And then how about the MPIC is a mechanism to confirm the relevant facts and strategy for implementation. Done.
Yeah.
2 sentences, done.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. Can someone capture that change?
I did. I made a change in the draft, and so it'll be a new when it gets posted. Assuming you all vote to amend it, the amended draft that way, then it'll be posted that way.
Okay. Anything else? All right. So then, do we need a vote to approve as amended?
That's right.
Who would like to do such motion?
Oh, we already made a motion, so we're good.
I'll accept that as a friendly amendment to changes.
Okay. So now we can vote, right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Vote to approve the minutes as amended. George,
I vote yes.
John,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and this is Kelly. I vote yes as well. All right. If we want to get voting things out of the way, we can take a look at the quarterly report and do that as well. Oh, we have
Yep.
Holly on too now. Welcome,
Hey,
Holly.
Holly.
All right. So if we take a look at the quarterly report, I didn't have to thank you, Stan, very much for putting it together. I didn't have much in terms of changes. Seems like we're, once again had a lightweight quarter, other than presenting at the annual meeting, which I didn't think there was really anything. We had our comments, but I don't think that was anything we could attach.
Right.
We present so that there was no artifact. I didn't feel that could attach, but the only thing I could think of maybe we could do for our next quarter is that we could be specific about what we're gonna apply the framework to. To the downtown improvement project as well as the 114 improvement plan.
The only, my only thought on that, Kelly, was that either you or John, who didn't stand up to speak at town meeting, I just wondered if you had wanted to add any language to a paragraph there that would say a little bit more about what you said or what the content of your comments were, because I don't, that's something I didn't know anything about. Right?
Yeah.
You can think about it.
I don't know, John, do you have any?
I think if we had been able to present in full, maybe we change that, but I'm a little hesitant to say that.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. What about if I'm in the document now, so I can add in that for the next is this what we're July, August, September? We should be able to get through 2 more of the frameworks. Do you want me to add it into the report? What do people feel about that?
Sure.
So just add it in.
So the only question I have is, did we actually fully commit to doing a review of the 114 project? Because I thought where we left that off, it was kind of, I don't know. I thought we kind of left off that there's other outlets for public comment and maybe not something we dive into, but Andrew, correct me if I forget where we left off on that.
So I don't 100% remember, but yes, just to bring it back to this current conversation, that is true. There are other public avenues for comment. I think the tricky thing with the Route 114 project is it's not a town project per se.
Right.
So it is a state project. So anybody who is going to comment on that is going to the state MassDOT on commenting with respect to how they feel about the project, not necessarily going to a town board or commission about it. Now, that's not to say that this body couldn't come up with some sort of a collective piece of feedback if it had it. But there's no decision-making mechanism for the town in this particular case that it can leverage. Like, it's not going to go before a town meeting vote, for instance, like the moratorium did, or like the Royal Crest project eventually will. So it's a little different in that regard.
Okay, and I'm going back and looking at the notes again because we have them, might as well use them. And John, it looks obviously that your recollection is better than mine. So do we want to table 125 for now? I think that's actually what's in the minutes. Table whether to review the 125 improvement plan. So
well, could we say considering appropriateness of commenting on the 114 project. In other words, letting folks know we're looking at it and we can explain why or why not. I think the more destinations or goals that we've got ahead, I think that helps with kind of the scope. If we choose not to get provide any feedback, then folks understand why.
Now,
if we do, we have it.
I may be a little confused. So are we talking about 114 or 125 or both?
114 and 114 and 125 and 495 were just mistakes, slips of the tongue.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
messed up. That was my mistake. Sorry, I messed up all the route
okay.
numbers.
Okay. Sorry.
All right, so what I put in I think everybody can see what I just added into the quarterly report, as I just added in 2 bullets into what we're doing for the next quarter. And it's the last 2. So, apply the
Yeah.
framework to the downtown improvement project. And
Yeah.
then the last one is consider the appropriateness of reviewing the 114 improvement, Route 114 improvement plan.
Yep.
Yep.
Good? All right. Does anybody else have any other changes they would like to see in our quarterly report?
Well, I'm sorry, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I didn't hear the discussion about the 114 improvement, but I thought the 114 improvement is still a couple years in the future. And what's coming up sooner is the planning board is going to get a draft of an auxiliary dwelling unit bylaw. And then also the planning board is going to consider, I believe, it's going to consider a zoning change that's going to affect Royal Crest. And then there's going to be a Royal Crest development or proposal. It seems like those 3 things are more immediate than 114.
Yeah, I think that I had mentioned, I do think I agree with you on the inclusionary zoning bylaw that got presented, the first draft to the planning board in our last meeting.
Sorry, I misspoke. The inclusionary zoning bylaw.
So inclusionary. So I do think that that's worthy of a review of the using the framework on that as well. That's come before the planning board. None of the other items yet. I don't think to the point that we'd review them. We've seen some of the new stuff on Royal Crest, but a lot of that information is coming soon. So
there's nothing we can review now, but it's going to come before we're going to have something to review with 114, I think.
Kelly, can I comment on that? So I'm just going to mention, George, that you're right, and I have my own opinions about whether or not this body should be taking, using the framework against the Route 114 project. I probably would lean against it personally, but of course, you guys have to make that decision on your own. That said, in terms of timing, just to respond to that specific issue, you're right that it's a couple years down the line. However, they're just about at 25% design right now. And so the further and further you get into design iterations, the less ability there is to change wholesale aspects of the design. So in other words, we're getting to critical points of public feedback and discussion on how the project's coming together, even though we're years down the line, because at the end of it, it's going to result in basically documents that are so close to final and have gone through so many different public feedback loops and state approvals and all kinds of stuff that there'll be less of a inability for anything coming from the public to change the project unless there was something egregious happening. So in other words, right now is still an appropriate time to make comments about Route 114.
So what I can do just to, because I made a good point, George, I had brought up the inclusionary, having us apply the framework to the inclusionary zoning bylaw, but I didn't mention it on the report. So what do people think about if I append the bullet I just added in, where I said apply the framework to the downtown improvement project, and I'll also add in the proposed, and I'm not sure the right terminology, but because it's not out there yet, but it's still the proposed inclusionary zoning bylaw.
I think that's a good idea, Kelly.
Before we go too far with the inclusionary zoning bylaw, I do want to note that it is its own strategy in the master plan, and as such is part of a bucket of housing strategies and will probably inherently be connected to those other ones. So
I agree.
Up to you guys, but it is both a concise part of the whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think honestly that would probably be a lot of just one more interpretation and evaluate. We look at it strictly, this group strictly from the master plan. So I think if we look at it from the master plan, granted we haven't done it yet, but that we'll see where there's a tremendous amount of connection and benefit. But it seems like it's worth going through rather than, I would suggest it's worth going through rather than having everyone, then assume everyone else agrees. If that's the right way to say it. Okay.
The more people that are in tune with the concept, the better, I think.
All right, so I added those. So I addressed those two. I did not address anything in terms, and just because it's not in the quarterly report doesn't mean we can't do it, right? This is just this is what we think. This is just a few bullets that says, here's what we think we're going to do that include these. We can always add more, change, or add different things in, if we want to. The bullets I added in, George, just to your point though, don't address anything about revisiting the new Royal Crest proposal if we want Trinity, if that's something that we want to do. We haven't discussed that at all. Maybe we can vote on the report and then kind of think about that, right? What do we want to do that? And then there hasn't been any, we don't have anything to look at yet in terms of any changes to zoning that relates to it. Yeah, probably something we would need to consider, I would think, but I don't think we have anything to consider yet.
No, I think just letting folks know what we're looking at or potentially looking at. I think that's the point here, is we're just giving them signals that we're paying attention and tuned in.
Okay. So you'd suggest we're okay leaving it like this for now, Chris, and then changing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have anything to change or any questions or comments on the quarterly report, proposed quarterly report? All right.
I see I think Sean's trying to say something. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say,
Hey,
can
Sean.
you let the record reflect that I'm present as about 5:15?
Awesome. Thank you, Sean.
Sorry for my tardiness.
You're here. That's a win.
Kelly, since no one else on the committee had anything to say about the report, if I can just make one additional comment, if you don't mind. And this can be brought up under a new business item, but I just wanted to bring it up here in case it needed to be reflected in the report itself. So one thing I think, since we've gone through basically a year's worth of reports, we've gone through 4 quarters, if you can believe it or not. We've been hanging out for a year. Pretty amazing. Done a lot. I'm wondering if this body would consider the potential to request from the select board that the reporting requirement be dialed back. I'm wondering if folks think that reporting on a quarterly basis is too often. I'm not going to make a comment as to whether I think it is or it isn't, but I just wanted to throw that out there for discussion in case people wanted to consider it. Maybe seeing if the select board would be willing to take a biannual report, for instance, so cutting the reporting requirement in half as opposed to doing it, because it feels like, we're kind of always up against the 8 ball in terms of reporting, and be able to craft fuller, richer reports twice a year as opposed to shorter reports 4 times a year. That's my only thought.
Yeah, it's a great item to think about. I think that and Chris, it'd be great to hear your thoughts, right? But as I look at these reports, I really think that the value and where I want to spend my time, if I'm the person standing there, more is going through the frameworks, because it seems like that's where people get more. It's more useful than me just reading our general report. Hey, we met, we did this. Here's our direction. Maybe if we go to twice a year for a report, but yet we still, if we have a completed framework, that we still have an avenue and vehicle to get to the select board, so we're not waiting 5 months or 6 months to present, but that's our trigger, is that when we vote on a framework, a completed framework.
It's interesting. I can't ever imagine a situation where I actually said, no, I think we should have more reports and not less. I don't know when I've ever said this, but I actually think the quarterly reports are a little bit of just a motivation for us to do stuff and report on it. I think, it's kind of every once in a while, kind of a kick in the seat of the pants to say, what have you done for me lately? And I think, we'll just be doing this now twice, the run around at the end of the twice a year period versus the run around at the end of the 4 times a year period. So since I've helped do a couple of these,
right, most of them.
Yeah. I don't mind doing this. And I think it's good to sort of keep us motivated. So we are doing stuff, whatever that stuff is, right? So I don't think this is so far an owner's requirement. And Chris nobly pointed out that our new select board chair may be interested in more information, not less, right? She may want to know a little bit more about what we're doing rather than less. So I think we had to think about it. I think we had to give it some good consideration, because I don't think it's a big problem. We don't want to embarrass ourselves by having reports that basically show we haven't been doing anything. That's not good. But maybe that will prompt us to do more or something. So I'm just saying, I can't ever remember a time where I said, no, more reporting is good. But this might be that time. So there you go.
But my only question is what is there other than it makes it, yeah. What harm is there if we have a report where we basically say we've met and we have nothing to report at the time? I mean, is that the worst thing that happens?
And it actually gives us a bullet point in the agenda, in the select, I can't say, the select board agenda. So that way, all of people who, like us, who get the agendas every week and look at them, or every other week and look at them, will at least see that something's happening, and oh yeah, there is this other committee. So it's free advertising.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I'm looking, is we stay in the conscience even if we don't have a report,
Well, and that means we also, as a committee, get to have a discussion with both the select board and the planning board every 3 months. And, get some feedback from them if they have any, right? So I don't think quarterly is a tough thing. I appreciate your sentiment, Andrew. Less work is always good. There's no harm in that. But I certainly don't mind generating the report personally. So having done it a couple of times now, so I'll keep doing it if that's okay with you guys. If you don't mind.
Right.
I would say, I think Stan, you, Jen, bring up good points. Ultimately, it seems to me what we want to come out of this committee is to produce something that's valuable to the citizenry and is informative to the select board, right? That's kind of the ultimate mission. So when we're generating frameworks, we have a product, right?
Right.
And so I think the report is sort of a bridge between that and the framework. Seems to me, if we're generating frameworks regularly, we don't necessarily need a report because you can see what we're doing. I think more as we kind of figure out the rhythm, it's been a year, but we're now kind of getting into the groove of things. So I think maybe using the quarterly report is sort of a marker. Here's what we're working on. Here's where we're going. Here's what we're about to produce, or here's what we have produced as a reminder. I think it can connect in that way. So maybe kind of stripping it down, but using it more like that as we produce more frameworks, because those are sort of the tracks that we're laying down.
Yeah. And this is the way, to the point you made, but we haven't actually acted upon as much as you probably would have liked, Kelly. This is part of our communications plan in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also the way of documenting what we've done. So somebody can look back and say, so what did that committee do anyway? What were they all about? What was going on? So, I'd say let's keep doing what we're doing. And if it becomes not useful or difficult, then we can think about it and take Andrew up on his suggestion.
Well, the other thing, Kelly, I could suggest is if you want to talk to the chair and ask her opinion, as the chair, it's like, listen, there've been 4 of these. There's some discussion about the value. How do you see that, over the next year?
Yeah.
Given we're going to do this and put some frameworks out. What do you think? Right?
Yeah. How would you want us to sync it up? It's a good point.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And look, and by the way, I'm only bringing this up because this is obviously a new committee. So I think it's just good, just to feel out, how things are working, if any changes need to be made, course corrections here or there. And they can be big course corrections, or they can be small course corrections, or they could be no course corrections at all. And that's totally fine. But I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of options out there, making things as efficient as they need to be. So
all right. I appreciate it. Thank you. So I think at this point, we're going to leave it as is, quarterly. But I will bring up to the new chair of the select board, just kind of making sure that we're hitting the right rhythm in terms of communication and reporting, and if there are any adjustments that make sense, and probably with chair of the planning board as well.
Yep.
Just see what makes sense for both of them. Okay. All right. So given that, and that this report actually says the fourth quarter of the year, which seems kind of crazy, fourth quarter. But are we ready to, and if no one has any changes, I would suggest we're ready to vote to approve.
Okay.
All right, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the report as written.
Seconded.
Okay. All right, so seconded by Holly. I will go ahead and do a roll call vote. Holly?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Kelly? Yes. All right, I think that's, yeah, it's already. All right, so done with that. We voted on our minutes.
Madam Chair, I need to depart our meeting now, so I'm signing off. But thank you, everybody, for your patience, and I look forward to seeing the minutes after it's all over with, Stan.
There you go.
Take care, everybody.
All right, Nick, Chris.
Yeah.
Bye now.
All right, so what do we have remaining on our agenda? We have remaining on the agenda, starting through the framework for the downtown improvement plan. And then the other item is discussing kind of subcommittee by subcommittee, kind of what are our next items, kind of what are those prioritized elements within your subcommittee. And I will be very upfront that I did not organize my subcommittees to look into our prioritized elements. So I would think we'll at least have 2 of those subcommittees that I'm on, unless the subcommittee, George did the work without me thinking ahead because I did not coordinate or plan. So
I'm sorry,
I will be.
Kelly, I didn't do the.
Yeah, I didn't either. So I will just be upfront that we're going to have. I don't know if anyone else, but I would suggest that we do the framework, and then if any subcommittees are ready to talk about the elements, we can at least start chewing through some of them.
I will also note that Chris's report out on the communication wasn't all of the communication stuff that we're going to talk about. I had a small thing I was going to present. If we want to circle back to that, or if you want to wait till.
No, I would actually.
Let's.
I would like to. Yeah, if there's more, because yes, that would be fantastic. Thank you, Dan. So let's do
I forgot to put that on the agenda, so that's totally my fault, Dan.
It's fine. I was going to.
We had communication discussion on there. It just wasn't linked.
Anyways,
but it was there.
All right. So I'm just gonna present a little map.
Is there music? No, just kidding.
No, there's no music. All right. Okay. You guys seeing a map?
Yep.
All right. So not very detailed at this point, but I started adding some.
Oh, you're going to do a strategy map, right?
Yeah. So I started putting together just some of the ones that, I knew we had done and knew could be presentable on a map. So that's another part of this discussion is, what can you show on a map and what other things do we need to, have other strategies for? So one of the things Chris and I talked about was, working with departments and boards who are accomplishing strategies or working on initiatives that'll, eventually complete a master plan strategy and figuring out what information they want to put out there related to that. But for more geographically based things, the map seemed appropriate. And so we have stuff like you click on this thumbtack and it'll link you to the downtown improvement master plan. And also, I know there's tons of strategies related to that, but I added a couple in here. That's a little bit trickier is, deciding which ones go in there and which ones don't. But that's something I'll work on as I expand this. I just wanted to get feedback first. We have the Mills to Hills Trail here. And so that discusses the strategy, but we also, where I could do things like actually draw where these things are. I added the trail and added a little bit more description of, what we're looking at here. We have things like the new sidewalk going in on Main Street, complete streets policy. So basically anywhere where I could link to things I did, and just mentioned the strategies. There's not a ton on here yet. So we have Amazon project, we have Route 125, Stevens Estate new management plan. I think it accomplishes a couple strategies. We have some stuff on Route 114 down here. But yeah, that's a small part of this, and is something I will continue to add to. But I guess following up on that, just kind of thinking about, what do we think should go on the map? What things do we think, might require another strategy, like figuring out, coordinating like little press release type things with departments that are working on strategies or other stuff like that. Is there more we want to see on the map?
And I'm sorry, where did you say the map is? It's on the town website under Master Plan Implementation Committee, or?
No, it hasn't been posted yet. You guys were all seeing the map I was presenting, right? I wasn't just talking. Okay.
Yeah. So you're still working on it. That you were just showing us.
Yeah, it hasn't been posted anywhere yet.
It looks like a very valuable tool.
Yeah, I think it'd be really useful to be able to, because it takes the plan, which is this big document for a lot of people, and puts it literally on the map of our town and shows where, for those things that are, related to, square feet, where they are and where's the impact.
Right.
And I think it's useful now. Don't wait until you're finished before you post it, because it could be years before you're quote finished unquote.
Yeah, I mean, I won't wait years. I just wanted, more feedback before we put it out there.
Is there a way to put things that are in progress and things that are completed? So, for example, the Main Street sidewalks, like when those get completed, can we make those green? And ones that are on the plan, maybe yellow or something, just so people can see, right, as part of the idea of things getting done, so that we have, this is our plan. The youth center is going to have an expansion. So that's on the plan, that's whatever. And it has a little man or whatever you had to signify it, Dan, at the youth center. But then we have, the Main Streets is green when it completed, so people can start seeing the progress. Does that make sense? Because I think it's great, Dan, by the way. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. I think color coding could definitely be a part of that. And like, I didn't get too into it, but I did start to do that. Like, I made the Amazon project 125 and 114 red, but I made the downtown improvement plan green. I didn't mention that, but I think,
great minds think alike.
I can definitely do stuff like that.
Yeah, I kind of jumped to the same thing. How can you categorize whether it's by element, some kind of visual indicators, which element is, or status, not started, in progress, done, and being able to see that. But then I'm like, who's gonna dig in on all that? Like, who really? Because I think there's so much you could do, Dan. I think it's great, but it's
I think getting into the elements, you start getting lost in the weeds, because the general public doesn't know the elements. They don't need to know the elements. They don't want to know the elements. I think it's just, done, in progress, in the plan, I think is what they want to know. You know what I mean? I think it's a very simple 3 colors is what it is. I don't think it needs to be in the weeds for the general consumption. That's my personal take. As a consumer, I just want to see the big picture.
Yeah, maybe it'd be nice to have it just attached to a number, to a strategy, to be able to, if there was one that you were interested in, like, oh, that's near my backyard, what is this? To be able to know where to go for more information, or this is something, but not on that map. Because I think it just then becomes more, it was a lot to keep current and update. And
what if we did a bi-level approach where you do something, you open it up, you look at the map, you have your 3 colors, you can tell right away what's what. But if you wanted to go more in depth, you can actually click on stuff like Dan's already started for a little more information.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think it's great. Yeah. And we can use it, right? To, hey, here's how things are evolving, and look, see what's here.
I think it's really cool, Dan. I think it's great to visualize where things and how things are happening in the town for people, rather than getting caught up in big plans. It makes it way more visual, which I think is way more appealing. So I think it's great.
I think it's great to let people see what's coming too, like how much is on there, how much it affects different parts of the town, rather than, I think you hear comments frequently that things all of a sudden happen, or people have to consider it, and it's you can see on the plan that there are all of these strategies that impact so much of the town, and it may not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but it'll be in the next 5 years. At least you know where to kind of look and see that there's something there you might be interested in finding more about.
Sounds good. Well, keep an eye out for it.
All right, awesome. All right. Anything else on the communication, Dan?
Not really. Just
Okay.
wanted to show that, get basic input. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So that leaves applying the framework to the downtown improvement plan. John, I know you had gone through the list of strategies. Do you wanna run us through it, or?
Is there a way you can share? So two things. One, so speaking to everybody here, what I did is I took an initial effort to truncate the overall list of strategies down to what's applicable to the master plan improvement. I mean, the downtown improvements master plan. And, you know, if there's something that was like, maybe it applies, I left it in there just to be, you know, if we decide as a group to weed it out, then so be it. So I did that. And then subsequent to that, Jay, Meredith, and I actually met. We actually walked the corridor a week and a half ago, and we focused on the transportation aspects of that. So that's where we're at. So I don't know, Kelly, if my dog's going crazy here. I don't know if you want to share.
I can share. I could do that.
I mean, you tell me how you want to go. I could probably weigh in on the transportation elements if we want to tackle those.
All right.
I'll be right back.
All right. All right. So this should look familiar to everybody. This is a version of the spreadsheet that John put together, like he just mentioned, with the strategies that he thought applied to the downtown master improvement plan. Is everybody seeing my screen, by the way? I can't tell. Okay. And then our standard comments over to the right, comments that we might make, as well as our rating positive, you know, does this project, is it positive, negative, neutral, or not applicable? And then it's up the in progress if we can't quite decide for each strategy. So we can start.
So John, what did you do? Highlight the ones you thought were impacted.
Yeah, so I yeah, you'll see there's some nice, you know, of the whatever we had 103, whatever it was. Yeah, there's still a whole lot in there that we can theoretically apply to the project. I left the ones in yellow are strictly transportation because I printed those out and took it when we were walking out there. We had a list to work with, so that's the only reason those are highlighted.
Got it. That was just for your.
Yeah.
All right. So, but this is still the list of strategies that you know, the wide cut list of strategies that you think
Exactly.
apply.
Yeah.
All right. So we can start going through this like we typically do, right? I can't see people's faces, so this is hard. Hold on, let me just try to.
Yeah. Okay. Want my dog right back? Hold on a second.
I don't know how to share my screen and see people's faces, so just know that I can't see your faces. So body language isn't working right now. All right, so let's just start on the first one, right? This is a strategy within land use element. And it's create a new base zoning district for downtown North Andover that is consistent with the goals of the master plan and encourages incentivizing investment. I mean, I think this is an obvious one. This is the nature of the plan.
Right.
So I would say this is a positive and move on. Does anyone disagree?
No.
All right. Focus new development and zoning changes along key commercial corridors that may be more appropriate for higher density mixed use development at key nodes or intersections.
That's it, the same. That sounds positive.
Review the current zoning bylaw and compare the current regulations to the desired vision and goals of the master plan. Ensure recommendations that can be tied back to zoning changes are initiated, or I'm sorry, are identified, prioritized, and completed. Does this have any, is this not applicable?
Well, so the reason I left it in there is because part of the master plan, the downtown improvements master plan, included an examination of current zoning with the potential for changing uses and whatnot. So I just didn't know how applicable this may be or not.
Is there an overlay? Isn't downtown an overlay for zoning? Isn't there a separate thing with overlay? I could be speaking completely out of turn here, but I thought there was.
There's a downtown overlay zoning district, but one of the goals is to establish a base zoning district that is consistent throughout downtown.
Gotcha. Okay.
And Andrew applied for, I think, funding to do a study on that.
All right, so is this something that's not happening yet, though? Then, so we're not reviewing. So then maybe this is just a neutral, because we're not started.
Also, I thought the downtown improvement plan explicitly said that it's not considering zoning changes. It pointed out that there's a lot of different zoning districts that apply, and that it said that's not within our purview or not within our scope of work. That's what I thought it said.
So it did say something to that effect. I mean, the bottom line is the downtown master plan did not end up providing any concrete, Dan, unless I'm misremembering, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it provided anything concrete in terms of recommendations with respect to zoning, but because the master plan does call for, re-examining base zoning for the downtown, we are proceeding with that. And it also sort of juxtaposes against any, physical improvements that we might make to the downtown as a result of the master plan, as a result of the downtown master plan. So.
So does that answer your question, George?
Well, I guess I'm waiting to see what you write in that column over on the right. Because
I'm going to write what you guys tell me to write.
Well, I would write irrelevant.
Yeah, I think it's not applicable would be my neutral or not applicable at this point, unless anyone disagrees.
Let's say neutral to keep it.
I was going to say I'd keep it neutral, to keep it neutral, no pun intended, but I think not applicable takes it off the board in my mind.
Right.
Well, it's not that the strategy is being taken off the board, it's that the plan doesn't address this strategy.
That's what not applicable.
I think at the end of the day, it's like it's not a big deal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think you can make a case that it's a positive because I think the plan goes part and parcel with, looking at the zoning. But if you guys said it was neutral, then that's fine too. I don't think it's going to make a difference in the end.
Yeah, it's a secondary aspect of the plan itself. So our rating's not going to have too much weight to it anyways.
All right, so do you want to leave it at neutral and just say that there's no, it was considered, but there was no need to make amendments?
Yes.
Make recommendations?
Sure.
Yes.
My assistant here today. All right. So then the next one is simplify and consolidate the number of zoning districts in the town zoning bylaw and update the town zoning map to reflect these changes. I think this is not applicable to this.
Same. I would say neutral in the same comment.
Yeah.
Is this even so neutral?
I don't see how it's applicable because you're talking town versus downtown, right?
Yeah, I don't think this belongs here because this is a bigger.
Much bigger.
I'm okay taking it out, like I said, only because it was relative to, talking about zoning changes, and there was an aspect of that in the master plan. So,
All right, what do people? What's the feel?
Yeah,
Anyone?
I think.
I feel like this is bigger. This is more town-wide versus specific to downtown, so it's not really applicable here, especially if we keep the other one in. We have something to capture zoning, but I don't think we need this one in there for the downtown project, is my opinion.
All right. The next is review existing lot size requirements and dimensional regulations for residential districts to determine if they are consistent with the vision and goals. a master plan. I think this is towards not applicable as well.
I'm okay with that.
Again, I can't see people's faces, so if I'm going too fast or too slow, you got to just tell me.
No, you're good.
Undertake a series of area plans for key commercial and mixed-use nodes to establish desired visions and outcomes for location and craft zoning to implement those desired outcomes. So I was leaning towards a positive until we got to the craft zoning. Is anyone else thinking?
What does that mean? What is craft zone?
I would think that's craft zoning changes is how I read craft zoning to implement those desired outcomes. So you have to do something to the zoning bylaws.
Oh, I see.
That's how I read
Craft,
it. Yeah.
yeah, craft as in a verb. Create, construct. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a not applicable or neutral since we're
Yeah,
seeing those no zoning.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Nope.
Okay, can I make a comment? I feel like this is very applicable. I mean, I think it's like arguably the most applicable because this is an area. The downtown improvement master plan is an area plan. That is what it is. I mean, it literally is an area plan, just like the Route 125 corridor plan is an area plan, just like any other subdivided piece of area drilling down into what the issue specific to that area is. So that's the only thing I'll point out.
I get that. I see where you're coming from, Andrew. The only thing is I think this is more of a, yes, it's an area plan, but the downtown improvements master plan, it's not like you're picking out parcels and saying, this is what should go here. This is a better use of land in this particular location necessarily. I'm looking at it, as far as building developments and stuff like that. Where it's an area plan, the plan that's provided is more infrastructure at this juncture.
That's true.
I would say the downtown plan though does present a desired vision.
It does. Yeah.
It talks about sidewalks. It talks about burying the utilities. It has bump outs. What do they call them? Garden parks. I mean, that's a vision, or it's part of a vision.
Yeah, but this is in relation to zoning. The strategy at hand here is relative to a zoning outlook, if I'm reading it correctly.
Well, area plans for key commercial and mixed use nodes to establish desired visions and outcomes for each location.
All right. So when I was looking at this, I was focusing on the latter half, the craft zoning, and was kind of like, oh, we're not doing zoning changes. That's where I came in non-applicable. I think this is one we could hang our hat on either side of the statement.
Well, that's true.
And then just address the other side in the comments. Would be mine, or anybody else?
So why don't we make this one positive, but say we're not making zoning changes?
Yeah, to Stan's point, you could say positive, and in the notes just say, however, we're not addressing this latter half of this.
I said, however, no zoning changes were required.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody not feel good with that? All right. Update the town zoning bylaw to promote a mix of uses in areas already served by public infrastructure, such as downtown, Route 114, 125, and Sutton. Again, there's no zoning bylaw updates with this, correct?
No.
So
No.
I'd say neutral or not applicable.
At this point, you could actually, I would be okay if you said not applicable on this.
All right, focus.
Well, I'm sorry. Just the caveat I would add, however, is that it seems like the downtown improvement program is conscious of promoting mixed use in the downtown area, which, I mean, so in a way that the plan, downtown improvement plan, I mean, the plan is consistent with this goal.
Yeah, it's just that it doesn't update the zoning bylaw.
Well, it's true
That's-
that it does not update the zoning bylaw, but it does promote
Mixed use.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Captured in the notes, right? So it's next is we move into economic development. Focus business attraction efforts on opportunities that are consistent with the character of the community and which can be reasonably supported in appropriate locations within the town. I mean, I think this is a positive because the plan is bringing in more business downtown, correct? So
Yeah,
I would think this is a
absolutely.
positive.
Even if it's just from an aesthetic standpoint or an operational standpoint, it's designed to encourage.
Ensure
Yeah,
existing.
I'd say this gets a positive.
Okay. Ensure existing commercial and industrial land is not converted to support only multifamily uses, but instead a mix of uses promoting vibrant commercial centers and corridors. What do people think on this one?
I would say this is a positive because this is a commercial corridor and commercial center in town, and this is trying to improve that situation.
Order. All right, next, still in economic development. Evaluate whether the creation of a quasi-public entity for economic development would offer the town increased flexibility to negotiate with potential new employers and to be more proactive in creating economic development opportunities for the community. It's not applicable?
Not applicable.
Look for opportunities to enhance visitation to the downtown area through special events and activities, such as the farmers market. Anybody?
Yeah, this is again the part of this plan is to make it a more desirable place for people to come. With the secondary, with the benefit of more people there can partake in what's available.
Next, invest in infrastructure and streetscaping to enhance the downtown area as a pedestrian-friendly economic hub.
Straight down the middle.
Yeah. Straight down the middle is positive, right?
Yeah.
A bowling term. I don't know. Encourage the development of mixed-use buildings which support both residential and commercial uses. Anybody?
Read that again.
Yeah, if anything positive, but the plan itself is not calling for building use necessarily. It's more of a big picture thing. So I don't know. You guys tell me.
Mixed-use building. Development.
Just Andrew here. So if you guys have made the decision that it's not applicable or neutral with respect to zoning changes, then you'd have to say it's the same here, because I think zoning would be the catalyst to encourage more, let's say, mixed use building. Although right now, I think I think mixed use is allowed by right, or at least through a special permit, because obviously you have mixed use down there. With like the Brad Street School redevelopment, for instance, was a mixed use project.
Current development. All right, what if people want to not applicable? What do people want to do?
I'd say it's not applicable.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, next, establish a business visitation and outreach program to solicit input from business owners and managers in terms of what the town is doing right, what the town is doing wrong, and whether the business has plans to expand or contract in the town or larger region. It's all about the dogs. We're going to the dogs, I tell you.
I don't think that's applicable
Yeah, I was
personally.
gonna say, seems to me that's the most non-applicable strategy we've considered.
All right, create an inventory database of available commercial/industrial development sites in the community for marketing, economic, and development purposes.
Industrial data.
That happen, Andrew?
No.
Is it going to happen?
Yes, in a manner of speaking. I mean, yes, it will happen, but it wasn't necessarily part of this plan.
Yeah, just do not applicable.
Yeah.
Work with large landowners of economically important properties in town to identify and track a mixed use of redevelopment on those properties. Is that not applicable for this, correct, downtown?
Right.
I would say yes, not applicable.
All right, now we're moving into the yellow transportation, which I'm going to on yellow, John, if that's all right with you.
That's more than fine.
All right, so our first strategy in transportation. Evaluate sidewalk gaps and prioritize new sidewalks based on their ability to connect residents to schools, activity centers, civic spaces, and recreation and open spaces in town.
That's a strike down the middle.
Yeah.
Leverage the town sidewalk maintenance funds with CPA eligible projects to expand the amount of funding available to improve connections to and from open space and recreation areas.
So this one's a little tricky because it involves like a secondary effect. You know, the plan itself establishes those types of projects. This is more about leveraging funds to do those. So it's like a secondary positive.
Is it part of this though? Is it just not applicable?
I would. Well, we don't know if it's Community Preservation Act eligible. That's the thing we don't know because like there's the hiking trail aspect that they're talking about as part of this plan. So
How about neutral? Would neutral do anything here? It's not totally inapplicable, but it's not very applicable.
I think we got to say it applies or doesn't apply, and then once
I
if
would
it
say
applies,
in that case, don't apply it because it's a maintenance fund.
and it's not a bad thing to be not applicable.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no hit on that. I mean, it just doesn't apply. It does not suppose. Need to get out country with commercial and civic centers in the northern portion of town by improving signage, sidewalk, trail connections, and bike. Is this not applicable?
No, I actually say it would be because part of this is they're talking about connecting from trails to the mills out back on this, and then possible rail trail connection. So that's kind of why I left it in there.
It's a positive?
Well,
I would say it's a positive.
George, I hear you, but I can't see you. Do you have a comment on this one?
well, I'm just looking at the knit together out country. This has got nothing to do with out country.
Yeah, but this is the commercial and civic center technically, and you need to create some sort of connection, start branching out. This gets the foot in the door on that whole process.
And if we're talking about the rail trail, I believe it starts down at the rail tracks, right? And it does work its way out country, all the way out to Baitakis and beyond. So to your point, John, I was with you, George. Like, how does this apply to out country? That by definition doesn't seem to gel with downtown. But if we're going to talk about connecting them, you have to start at the epicenter, so to speak, which would be downtown, and then work your way out. So that's kind of, I think, where it comes from.
But I don't think the downtown improvement plan talks about the rail trail at all beyond High Street. Or it doesn't even go to High Street. It's just there's a portion of it that can be used to
No,
convert
that's
the
not, it
buildings.
goes out to high and water.
I'm sorry?
They do, there's provisions in there for examining getting a trail that connects from downtown out to the mills.
Yeah, the mills.
High Street and Water Street.
I know what you're thinking, George. That's hardly out country, right? That's still to me downtown.
Yeah,
No, it is
that's-
not.
But I think you have to start somewhere. Like if you don't start it at the downtown and get it to the mills, then it never gets from the mills across the street. I guess is how I see it. If you do, if you don't start it somewhere, then it's never going to get anywhere.
So this is a positive building block towards it.
I believe so. I'm with George. I totally get like the out country piece of it, and getting it to the mills from downtown to me is, I get.
So we can say positive, but this is a building. This doesn't complete. Yeah, and none of these are we saying this completes the strategy just because it has a positive impact. We're not saying that at all. We're just saying if it has any impact. So maybe on this one we could just note that it's a building block.
Yeah.
Yep. Stepping stone building block.
To connect, to knit together to out country. How about that? To use the same word. Okay. The next, continue the practice of working with the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission and MassDOT to identify and fund safe routes to school infrastructure improvements.
I'd actually say this one's not applicable because it's not necessarily a safe route. There's no proximity to any of the schools here.
All right, work with phone up.
So, let me make sure I understand. We go right by the middle school, the Bradstreet School, and not too far from Atkinson and the back of Kittredge. So isn't
But if
that,
you look at the limits, that they define the downtown improvement area, this would be outside of that connection.
oh, okay. Okay. So they quit long before they get to the school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they include the library? I don't remember.
No.
So they quit before the library.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
they
go to, like,
just passed the parking lot for St. Mark's.
St. Michael's.
St. Michael's, sorry.
That's right. Okay. I got you.
Okay, next, work with the Friends of North Andover Trails to evaluate and prioritize off-street trail development, connections, and trail crossings to and through open spaces and recreation areas. That was a weird wording.
Yeah. Again, this hits on getting potential trail road. I forget what the heck the term was, but to the mills, and the Sutton Pond out behind Town Hall, and that in potentially using increasing recreational space and usage out there. So,
is there any mention of working with Friends of North Andover Trails?
In the downtown master plan, you mean?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can't remember.
I don't think so.
All right, so I think it's a not applicable, right? Because this specifically talks about that, or do we want to not?
No,
specific?
We can't make everything. Yeah, not applicable is good because,
If you want to put it not applicable because it's strictly working with PhoneAt and that's not mentioned in the plan, then so be it.
All right, I'll just make a note. Next, couple sidewalk and crosswalk improvements with pedestrian scale lighting to increase visibility and safety. To do that?
Isn't this part of like the definition of the improvement of the downtown plan?
This is completely in alignment with it.
Discourage traffic in residential areas using context-sensitive roadway design and traffic calming solutions.
So the only reason I left that in there is because there is a residential component to the downtown corridor.
No, but I wouldn't call it a residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm fine with that. Like I said, I'd rather leave it in there for discussion and say it's not applicable and then not even bring it up.
Yeah, I think the downtown neighborhood is so limiting. This doesn't really apply. This is.
Next, evaluate safety and congestion improvements along key roadway corridors and intersection improvements to promote safer travel speeds, improve safety at key intersections, and create a safer and more connected sidewalk network.
Very, very positive.
It's all positive. All right. Next, evaluate the potential for including wider shoulders on roadways to improve safety for cyclists where dedicated bike lanes or multi-use pathways may not be feasible.
So if anything, this actually precludes widening lanes because it's going to be shared use on the roads for bikes. They don't have dedicated bicycle accommodation as part of this.
But it is promoting the use of bicycles. I think
It is promoting the use of bike. They are going to accommodate that. You know, it's designed to accommodate them, which does not exist today.
I would say it's positive.
So yeah, the gist of it is positive. If you want to dive into the details of it, it may not be applicable, but I think you can tag this as positive and not worry about it.
Develop stronger zoning language and incentives to encourage shared access points, curb cut consolidation, and connected parking across developed parcels.
Yep. So if you go down there today, you know, a lot of the driveways are poorly defined or there. So this would kind of address that.
So positive again. Work with Merrimack Valley PC to conduct a transportation corridor study for each of the entry points off 495 into North Andover to create a coordinated transportation solution for access into town.
So given the proximity of Sutton Street here, that's why I left it in here.
Okay.
Because part of this the plan is to upgrade the intersection of Main Street and Sutton Street.
So is this a positive because of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Pursue a more proactive approach to securing funding every 5 to 7 years for local North Andover North transportation projects through the Merrimack Valley Transportation Improvement Program.
Not applicable.
And high visibility crosswalks to additional intersections and mid-blocking crossing locations along Main Street and Water Street.
Positive.
That's exactly what's going on.
Hold on just a minute, guys. Sorry, we had our special anime markers out for the teenager that cannot be used for drawing. All right. Evaluate the possibility of changing on-street parking configurations as a way to increase sidewalk widths, landscape buffers, or add on-street bike facilities along parts of Main Street.
Again, positive.
Positive.
Look for opportunities to construct curb bump outs, particularly for mid-block crossing locations along Main Street.
Yep.
Hire a consultant to evaluate and recommend possible streetscape improvements.
Done.
I'm having a hard time spelling positive. Continue to plan for and implement undergrounding utilities in the downtown area.
Yep.
Positive.
Yeah, there's still an evaluation process behind it, but yeah, it's got the ball rolling on it.
Evaluate the effectiveness of changing zoning along Main Street to vary front setbacks to provide additional space for wider sidewalks, enhanced landscaping, and pedestrian gathering spaces.
That's what they're
So they did, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Use consistent streetscape treatments and wayfinding signage to connect downtown with the Mill District to encourage walking, gathering, shopping, and dining between both areas.
Yep, that's one of the main tenets of this.
All right. Repair existing brick sidewalks in downtown to reduce tripping hazards and ice breakup.
We're putting brand new ones in. So.
Review pedestrian ramps and building entrances for universal accessibility and prioritize accessibility improvements.
That's part and parcel of this.
Improve MVRTA circulator routes and frequency of those routes as a way to increase ridership. Is this?
I don't think that's applicable.
Not-
I don't think
Yeah,
that
I think-
ridership is
yeah, I think you can
applicable
make
to
it.
the downtown improvement.
All right, now we're moving into open space and recreation. Work closely with Friends of North Andover Trails to design and install a wayfinding system for North Andover's publicly accessible conservation areas. Develop online itineraries, maps, and suggested routes that promote interactions with nature. Is it not applicable?
Yep.
That's the wrong one. Identify locations and create handicap accessible walking paths in natural areas and create management plans for each conservation area that addresses access for persons with disabilities. Not natural areas, huh? Is it not applicable?
Yep. Not
Probably.
applicable.
All right, develop a trail rating system that rates level of difficulty. I think
Not
this is-
applicable.
yeah. Develop a social plan for North Andover Rail Trail. This is not applicable, right?
I don't
That's
think
not.
so. Yeah.
Continue to support the work. Now it's spelled out. Friends of North Andover Trails, Essex County Greenbelt Base Circuit, trustees of the reservations, Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, and others to create trail connections throughout North Andover, connecting to neighborhood communities. Does that tie back to the one earlier that it's?
I think you make a case that this is positive because this is supporting the work.
Yeah,
This is in support of that by creating more trail connections.
And sorry, going back to 67, I would say that the plan before is the building block again. If we don't have a rail trail that starts downtown, then we don't have the building block.
Yeah,
So you,
no,
so
I-
you think this is a building block? So it go to positive?
Yes,
Mhm.
I agree with that.
And it just keeps our message consistent. Sorry, because it's the same message.
Thanks for the catch. Last, open space and recreation. Organize more community-wide events in the downtown area and other central locations, e.g.
Positive.
Town Common.
Mm-hmm.
Moving into the historic, cultural, and natural resources, acquire and otherwise protect priority open space parcels from development as identified through the most current open space and recreation plan.
Not applicable.
Non applicable. We already lost the open space plan to Avalon.
Create a local historic preservation master plan to identify resources. Not applicable.
Not applicable.
Nope.
Develop a historic cultural asset map. Not applicable.
I don't know. There could be a cultural something downtown that's important. I've actually reached out to some people in town so we can get a map. So I think it's neutral.
Okay.
But I'm not going to just wholesale say that there's nothing historic in downtown.
Right.
Neutral. On a note in there, need to evaluate.
Need to confirm if there's anything cultural or historic down there. You know what I mean?
Confirm if there's anything left.
Sorry, because I just look at like behind Sutton Pond where that little mill thing is.
Yeah,
I'm guessing
yeah,
there's
that's-
something historic there in terms of giving the water source to the mills. I know it sounds silly, but I wouldn't just say no then.
Yeah, there's that little. Yeah, there's the mill building, the little mill building. Yeah. Use the community's historic spaces and resources as venues for community events and art programs.
But I don't think this is because I don't think there's a historic space down there.
Yeah. Develop a partnership between the town's historic sites, parks, and open spaces, and its performing and visual arts program. I think it's not applicable. Partner with the trustees of Reservation and Historical Society to expand the visibility of North Andover's publicly accessible historic resources by coordinating events, holding joint house and facility tours, and collaborating on joint programs and volunteer activities.
Yeah, I just put those in there because I didn't know if there was a cultural resource downtown that we have to incorporate.
It's the same thing I did. You pulled this together. I went wide. I'd rather have the group decide things didn't fit than miss them. That's great. All right, so now we're into our last strategy, public facilities and services. Continue to prioritize the update, repair, and renovation of town's public buildings and schools as needed.
So the only thing that comes into play is you have town hall and the old senior center building out back that may be incorporated at some point. So that's why I left that in there.
So the town hall, I think I would put this as complete because the town hall's been done and the new senior center's been approved by town meeting.
But this still has public in schools. This is broad. This is
But
everything.
the schools don't come into it because it ends at St. Mike's parking lot.
John, in the downtown improvement master plan, does it call out any of those buildings as
Not that I remember. Not in particular. No. I mean, like I said, yeah. So town hall's been down up front. You know, it's just in discussions. You know, you have the potential with the old senior center building out back, where that's a gateway to the pond and potential recreational development out there.
I personally think this is not applicable because
I'm okay keeping this out. That's fine.
Work with local internet and cell service providers to proactively seek out new technology. Not applicable.
I think so.
Complete the inventory of shade trees located throughout the town in order to help identify locations where more might be needed. Is that applicable for?
Yeah, so they do
Right?
they have a landscape and tree element to the.
Complete the stormwater management plan and make improvements and replacements where necessary. Was there a stormwater component to this?
Anytime you do streetscapes, you incorporate drainage into it. So
positive because they did it.
Yeah.
Continue to upgrade and replace aging pipes for sewer and water systems, including evaluating possible expansion capabilities to residents that are currently not served by sewer and water infrastructure with a specific focus on protecting the drinking water supply. So is there an upgrade?
Again, it's because of the age, represents an opportunity to upgrade infrastructure.
Yeah.
Provide appropriate facilities and services for an increasing aging population.
Again, this gives you increased safety with pedestrians and bicyclists. So you can make a case for it being positive. You know, you're getting rid of bad sidewalks, making a smoother place for older people to walk. So
I wasn't thinking about it that way, but yeah, that's the service, the facilities. I was thinking like, oh, the senior center is out of range of this, but just to make it easier to get in and out of.
Yeah.
In terms of curb cuts and things like that. Okay. So sidewalk improvements. What's walkability, accessibility? I'm sorry, what was the last word?
I'd say just pedestrian accommodation.
Okay. Provide recycling bins in the downtown area and in municipal buildings.
So one of the aspects they talked about was street furniture, including recycling and trash bins out there.
Nice. All right. So we have a boatload of positives. The not applicables, we're not really going to count. They're just not applicables. And no negatives. And a couple of neutrals. Well, there you go.
Now, how does this work, Kelly? Do we attach this to the minutes then?
Well, what we did before, and we are still missing a few people, is, well, last time we came back and we voted, well, I don't know, we voted on it at the next meeting previously.
Yeah.
Once we looked at it, do we want to vote on it now? I would say we wait because it's this is being done in this quarter anyway. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what
so it might get attached to minutes, but not these minutes.
Not these minutes, yeah.
Okay, I got it.
What about deleting the columns that have nothing to do with what we talked about? That they're in there for purposes that we considered a long time ago, and then calling this the matrix to support or to evaluate the downtown improvement plan or something like that. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Yep, all those columns will get deleted. Just like the other frameworks that we did.
Make the name specific to downtown improvement program and delete the columns that have nothing to do with our evaluation of the downtown, of the relevance to the downtown improvement plan.
Yeah, that's what I did with the other ones before we voted on it. I moved it into a separate file and got rid of all those other columns that weren't relevant.
So sorry, why wouldn't we vote on this tonight? We just spent the last hour going through it, and we're not going to put it on the minutes or vote on it tonight when there was 6 of us here. My apologies if it's not something we typically do, but we just spent an hour going over this document with all of our inputs. Why wouldn't we put it on the minutes?
Well, it's in the minutes, definitely, right?
Well, you just said we were going to put it on the next meeting's minutes.
No, I'm sorry. No, so it's in the minutes because in the minutes for this meeting. I was talking about the quarterly report to the
Oh, sorry. Okay.
the selectmen. There's what, but to back to so that if that, but
Sorry, I misunderstood.
voting on it tonight. If we,
I mean, is there a reason why we
We can-
wouldn't vote on it since we just spent? I mean, does anyone disagree about not voting on it tonight or voting on it? I mean, if I'm
Well-
really out of line, tell me I'm out of line. I'm fine with that.
No,
but-
the only thing I think Kelly was saying, Holly, was that we might want to give the members who aren't here tonight a chance to take a look before the next meeting to see if they have any input. I think that's what she was saying.
All right.
Not that we certainly couldn't vote, which we could do, but
what do people want to do? Tell me. Let's move ahead. Do we want to vote or not vote?
I would make a
Just gotta
motion
clean
to
it up.
vote for it so we can move forward and put this one to bed rather than have it be another 20-minute discussion on next week's meeting since we spent this whole meeting going over it. And if we
All
have
right,
a
so let's
quorum-
clean it up. All right, we can clean it up now.
okay, so.
Does somebody disagree? I mean, if someone disagrees,
No,
please.
we're good. We're good, let's do it. So you voted to approve, I'll second that.
I'm not. I want to clean it up first because it still has all those other columns and is part of a larger sheet, right? So it's not. I don't think it's in votable
Oh, okay.
format.
You know,
Right,
for,
so all
for
these
what
other-
it's worth, you know, Meredith and Jay, you know, we, as far as the transportation items, we're probably all on the same page. So I don't have any hesitancy on that regard of, you know, having them, you know, but that's strictly for the transportation elements.
All right, so I'm gonna remove all of the. Got a slew of not. So I'm gonna leave the not applicables where we had comments. I'll leave them in.
Perfect.
Unless anyone disagrees.
Nope. Perfect. Sorry, I just know if it was me and I wasn't here and you guys all spent this and had 6 or 7 of you discuss it, I would be fine with what the majority voted, you know, agreed to.
Google Sheets is not my friend.
You're way better than I would be, Kelly. I give you credit.
Somebody watch, make sure I'm not deleting something important here. All right, then it's all of these, right? All right, so if I take this off, positive. All right, so then we still have a not applicable here. Oh, those are the ones in the notes. Okay. All right, so that gives us, I don't know, what is it 20, 30? Quite a few.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks good. I'm in the actual document with you, Kelly.
All right, and then it needs to come out of this. This is just, it looks like John just took a copy of the
Yeah. I
the whole
copied it
file.
and then-
Okay.
yeah.
I think I just copied that sheet out. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Copy to a new spreadsheet. Why didn't it go? Oh, open spreadsheet. There we go. So then this. Is the impact framework. Downtown improvement project.
Yep,
Plan.
exactly.
Plan.
Banner project.
Well, it's called the Downtown Improvement Plan.
It's technically the downtown improvement master plan, but they've put plan everywhere, so that's fine.
All right. So this was July 26th. All right. Here we go. We have a completed framework. So if we want to vote on this. All right. And I'm sorry, Holly, I think you had, did you start?
Yeah, I can make a formal motion to
Okay.
vote to approve the master project plan as Kelly has amended further to our discussion.
I'll second that.
Let's stand as a second. All right, here we go. Voting around my tiles here. Holly,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelly, yes. That's everybody. There we go. All right. We already voted on the report without that in there. Can we just do like a amended? Could we get a motion to amend our quarterly report to include the completed framework for the downtown master plan?
No, you were right the first time. This would go in our next quarterly report.
Right. It would still go in the
All
next meeting. We're just voting to approve it, so we don't have to talk about it again at the next
Yeah,
monthly
we don't
meeting.
have to change that.
All right, there we go. Okay,
We're good.
Perfect.
all right.
Thank you.
So then we've got our subcommittee-led discussion on prioritized elements. Any of the subcommittees ready to talk about that? Or do we want to push that to?
I think we could push that till next meeting. So
Okay.
yeah, I think we're all about in the same boat on that. We thought about it, and yeah, Holly's made some calls, but we don't have a lot to show yet. So
Okay.
I think-
All right.
I
So we'll
think-
push that. And then in our next meeting, do we want to apply the framework to the proposed inclusionary zoning bylaw?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So that'll be our focus for next time. So one with subcommittees, we'll actually, myself included, do our homework. It was looking at all of the strategies, especially the prioritized ones that we had done before, kind of going, what's next? What should we be doing to focus on?
So in the way that John took the lead on putting together the sheet for this, is there someone who can do the same for the inclusionary zoning thing? Isn't that land use? Whoever has land use.
Yeah, well, Kelly and I have land use, and Kelly's the chairman, so I guess I'll raise my hand. But this is what is it that we're going to apply the framework to? Isn't it the bylaw that's approved by the planning board?
Well, at this point, no, there's a new one that's before a proposed, and Andrew or Dan, correct me if I'm getting the process or terminology wrong, but there is a proposed new, I believe is the right term, inclusionary zoning bylaw before the planning board. We've had one discussion on it. If my understanding is it will, and please, Dan or Andrew, correct my recollection, it will have to go to town meeting at some point. So it would be something that if we applied our framework to, against applied the master plan framework to, it would help too.
No, never mind town meeting, because that's far in the future. But I'm sorry, I forgot. Jean presented it at the last meeting of the planning board. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, we discussed. Yeah, it was a discussion item in the last planning board meeting.
And how soon do you think the planning board might vote to either approve or disapprove?
I don't know.
What I was thinking is that this is going to go on for a month or two, and so there might not be anything to review for the next meeting.
Well, this kind of goes to when our next meeting is. We only meet once a month, and we're coming up into summer, so we're probably I was thinking we'd probably be far enough out that we can put it on our agenda or think about it, and then if we're not ready, we don't do it, right?
Okay, but the thing that I should consider is tell me if I'm wrong. Is it true that the thing I should consider is the zoning bylaw that's approved by the planning board?
No, I would, well, for now, I would look at the planning board meeting last week. There was an attached draft bylaw that you could look at. And I think if even just looking at that would kind of give you enough to consider what strategies to include. And again, Andrew or Dan, correct me if I'm.
I think it's even attached to your agenda this evening, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, because you did the link. Okay, you were better than I just said it, and you actually put the real link in there.
So
wait a minute, the agenda has a link?
Yep, it has several links to different. We try to link to any of the. If we're going to like discuss something we're reviewing, like like a report or something like that, we try to link to everything.
What?
It's in page 2, our agenda. We actually had 2 pages on our agenda tonight, and it's at the top of the second page. And I had it under new business just as something to bring up to the committee to see if they thought that was something that we.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I just sent a link. I just sent a link in the chat for you, George, if you want to take a look at it.
Okay, well,
A link to the agenda, which has links to all the documents we've discussed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't see that the agenda has that there's a second side to the agenda.
Oh, there you go. We don't normally have 2 pages of agenda items for this committee.
So I'll take the link that's in the agenda.
And I think George, probably too, from your perspective, it's going to be pretty standard stuff for everything that you know around what we should be doing for inclusionary housing. Okay. All right. So we'll, as long as it's progressed enough with the planning board between now and then, that we'll plan on taking a look at that. We voted on the quarterly report. The subcommittee will work on doing our homework so we can have a better discussion, or have a discussion at all on what our prioritized elements and kind of what we do. I think Jay had kind of phrased it really good last time. What should we be focused on next? What do we need to be thinking about and helping to support and promote in the town? That being said, what's our next meeting time?
Should we, since it is summertime, as you pointed out, should we take next month off and meet in September?
I don't think
if we go a month from now, I'm on vacation. Not that it makes a difference, but just
I am as well. So I would either need to be early August or go into September. So I don't know. Do people want to kind of shoot for that first week in September?
That works for me. Getting people, like I reached out to people, they're just
nobody's
away.
around.
No one's around to move anything forward. You know what I mean?
No. All right, so we've got, September 6th is Labor Day. For that Monday, if we went to the next Monday, there's a select board meeting on the 13th. I don't know, Andrew, what you see in terms of magical days.
Yeah, I mean, the 13th works, as long as you start at 5 and you wrap up before the select board. And that's come up a couple times with Chris, and he's always said, it is what it is, and he's okay with that. So I wouldn't necessarily avoid select board meeting nights if you want to stay with Mondays.
It seems like that worked, unless anyone, I think we picked Mondays because that worked better for people's schedules, and the 5 o'clock worked better. If that hasn't changed for anyone, I say we stick with the Mondays.
Yeah, why don't we do the 13th at 5?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then Andrew, just you mentioned the fact that we're a year into this. Is there at some point where we elect new officers? What's sort of the routine or rhythm of those types of things?
That's a good question. So I don't know that there's an overarching rule for all of the committees to decide. I think each committee kind of deals with it in their own way. There's some committees, I think, that there might be some committees or boards that choose to elect their officers on a yearly basis, annual basis. I think it's a good idea, just good practice. Just whether or not you want to keep the same folks in place or have new people step up, it's totally up to you guys. But again, I leave it up to you for discussion. There's no hard and fast rule.
All right, so maybe we talk about it next time, unless people want to talk about it now. We talk about it next time to see if anybody has any thoughts.
Yeah, I'm on that. And you can send something out for people to think about, right? Let them know.
All
Those
right.
Yeah.
folks who aren't here to be eligible to participate.
Okay. All right. So we'll talk about it if we want to do new officers as well. Who else wants to play documents? Okay. All right. So if there's nothing else, I think we can call it. If someone wants to vote to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second.
All right, Sean. I got the yes. You're like, yes.
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Holly,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Kelly, yes. All right. I think we're all set.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great evening.
So long,
Thanks, everyone.
everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
And we're good to go, Bill. Thank you.